Okay, today, this is, first of all, I'm Joe Sayles Jr., and this is an interview today with Bruno Morris. Bruno is a friend of mine who is also a paid advertising specialist, and I've worked with Bruno in the past. And Bruno runs Doc Web Marketing, and he's working for and you're working for Expresso these days, Bruno. So just to get started, tell me a little bit about yourself and what we're doing, or what you're doing these days, what you're into, and then we'll get into some questions.
All right. So at the moment, I'm running my own agency called Doc Web Marketing, where I focus on lead generation for small and medium companies. And the difference between my company and other companies is that we use different channels. Mainly Google, Facebook, email, and SEO. So make sure we got like an integrated strategy and help to maximize the conversion in an integrated way. That's
awesome. And that's how we came to know each other, because we were working together on a paid advertising for one or two of my clients, or however many it was, right?
Exactly.
So before I get into things, I was looking at your website again, and I know a little bit about you and that sort of thing from our relationship in the past. But one of the things I saw on your website is that you have a Trustpilot listed as one of your clients, whether current or past. Can you tell me a little bit about working with Trustpilot and what you did with them?
Yes, in that phase, I was collaborating with an agency called 77 Agency, and Trustpilot was, of course, one of our biggest agencies, his biggest clients. It's actually, especially in UK, their brand awareness is huge. You can literally see Trustpilot everywhere if you're walking around the tube, if you're walking around the city center,
right.
In the website. Most companies, they use the Trustpilot logo on their website. So their brand recognition was huge already.
Got it.
So the challenge there was actually to increase this brand recognition, which was a tough challenge.
I'm sure it was. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get into too deep of that. That's, what I wanted to talk about a little bit more is some questions I have relating to projects that I'm going to be doing in the near future, related to how you and I are relate within what we've done and the work that we do. So one of the things that is funny, because when I was looking at your website, I saw something that I hadn't seen before. I know I've heard it before, but I was looking at the funnel on your website, and the funnel on your website, it says tofu, mofu, and bofu. Now, I always think of the terms top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel, but I haven't seen it like tofu, mofu, and bofu, so I'm not going to forget that. Question for you, have you seen it written like that, or is that something that you just did on your own and created?
Yeah, to be honest, maybe depends on the country. But in UK, it's actually pretty common. Maybe it's because the British like to use abbreviation.
Okay. Well, I hadn't seen that, and that's not. I see a lot of things, and sometimes I forget some of the things I've seen. But that one, it seems like it would have stood out in my mind if I'd seen it as an acronym like that. Put it like this: from now on, moving forward, I will definitely use it like that. But let's
just make it quicker.
Absolutely. So I wanted to get into some of the. I had 5 questions, and if your answers could be long or short with these, it's up to you. But one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, what has been your deepest, toughest challenge when you're doing lead generation for clients?
All right, this is a very interesting question. There are different challenges in lead generation for agencies like my own. Although my biggest challenge, I would say that is probably pre-qualified the clients, because we're looking for a particular type of client which spend a minimum of 500.
You still there?
Hello?
Yes, you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, the last thing I heard was like 500 and 1,500.
All right. No, sorry. I was going to say that our clients need to spend a minimum of £50,000 per month.
Gotcha.
So for us, the problem was to pre-qualify this client with this minimum budget, because of course it's not something that you can target when you're launching your ads on Google or on Facebook.
Right.
So the problem was having a lot of clients with very small budget, which weren't basically our target potential client. That was our biggest challenge.
I can see how that would be a challenge. Now, do you have a team of people that are going out there and helping you market to find those clients, or what kinds of things are you doing? You do. Okay.
We got two people working in sales, which one is going the classic cold calls, so calling potential clients which are based in London, and the other guy based on sales is working more on LinkedIn and Facebook targeting.
Gotcha. I'm taking a note here in case I want to revisit that. All righty. So now I'm going to that leads me kind of into my next question. Once you have these kinds of clients and whatnot, especially when you're working with big clients like this, what have been some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen these kinds of business owners or these kinds of clients making?
Funny enough, the mistake that these kind of clients are making are very basics, because very often the clients, they are like focusing on having like very fancy tool or very complicated strategies, and they're missing the fundamentals, which are so important. To be honest, fundamentals are what makes actually the difference.
That's funny that you say that, because as you know, we go into dealing with our clients and paid ads, and we do an audit immediately, and so you probably have your checklist. I have my checklist, and it's pretty detailed. I think my checklist is like 21 points, and I know within the first 5 points how much, how strong the client was or whoever was doing the work, whether there's been several people jumping in and jumping out working with this particular account and things of that nature. So I'm sure you're pretty able to quickly identify issues that you want to work on real fast when you start auditing your clients, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, same. We got a full checklist that we go through, and very, very often my checklist is a bit shorter. I got like 15 points, and very often half of those points are missing.
Right. Well, what do you see are some of the things when you're in that audit? What are some of the things you're looking for that are some of the basics that you're talking about?
Some of the basic, if we take Google Ads, for example, I have to make sure, starting from the campaign level, that all the settings are all right, that every single campaign have different ad groups per match type, for example, one from phrase match and one from exact match, and that we have at least 3 ad copy for each ad group, so we can make sure we can do different testing between the ad copy. And there are all their small little things that actually makes a difference, like the ad extension, the site links, etc., etc.
Right. Now, and do you go in there and do you go in there and make new campaigns for them? Do you kind of use the campaigns that they have and make modifications and add your own ad groups or anything to them? Or
that's an interesting question. I would say that it depends on the accounts. Usually we try to keep the live campaigns, since they have a history already, and for Google's nature, usually gives a better quality score for campaigns with a older history. Right. And that's why we always try to maintain the campaigns. Right. But of course, there are cases where the campaigns are completely a mess.
Yeah. Right.
And in that case, we just need to start over.
Yeah, I agree, and I understand it. And it's funny because that made me think about our work in the past, and your approach and my approach are very similar to how we, work with our campaigns. And yet I can go in and see where clients have come in and done drastic changes, So, I guess it does kind of depend on every situation. But like you, I agree that that's, probably the easiest way to get into the campaigns, to make a difference and things like that. Have you ever just come in and had like a massive impact, like within 1 week or 2 weeks of working with a client?
Oh, yes, that happens often, to be honest, because I'm not sure if that is a UK trend, but I can see that a lot of director, they're trying to manage their Google ads themselves.
Right.
Because Google gives you this feature, right?
Right.
By making this like smart campaign very automated, but they are very automated, but they're also very expensive.
Right.
So very often by creating like a standard campaign with all the fundamentals in place, the cost per acquisition just became so much lower.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some great experiences recently like that, and made a case study out of it, and I'm still working with that client because, when you have those kinds of things and you see that just jump out at you, it just makes you feel so good. And us PPC guys, we understand that we just hit a home run, or we just did so good, but sometimes we have to work to make our clients understand how much value we just gave them, especially
that's right.
Especially when you cut their costs in half and you increase their clicks, you double or more than double their clicks within, a handful of changes within 3 days. That's just, it's what we work for. It's what we thrive for. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. I have more questions. I'm not sure how much more time you have. Do you have another 2 or 3 minutes?
Yes, I have 2-3 minutes. Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Then one of the last questions I want to ask you is, what future challenges do you see coming in the next year, either for yourself, for business owners, for your business, or anything else?
Oh, definitely the automation that Google Ads have, because they're not great, but they give the impression to the owner that they can actually manage the Google Ads themselves.
Yeah.
Which sometimes they relatively work well, but there is always a big room for improvement, which the director are not able to see when they're experts. But that is the challenge I can see, that in the future, those automated features are going to be more and more powerful, and director are seeing that our expert job are not really needed. So that's I think is the problem for the future in our
I agree.
Yeah. Tell me about you. Tell me about you, Joe. What do you think about this?
It's funny because with all the Google's automations, all of the ability for it to do so many things for you, and all the changes it's making, it's giving people the ability to overspend real heavily, really quickly if they don't know it. They know they're being taught just enough to be able to really cause damage to themselves if they don't know what they're doing. It's like giving a child a machine gun.
Literally.
And that's the way I see it. It's like giving a child a machine gun. They're given so much, so big and powerful a tool with some automations that and they're trying to promote it as you can do this yourself, and they've just made it dangerous for the people to be able to overspend and if they don't have the stops in place, if they don't have all the things to protect their account, and they can do it like that. I've had campaigns in the past where you turn it on, you had the settings right, but somehow the setting changed when you turn it on, or you bump something or something, and you don't go back in and check it within to see that it's turned on. Now this is not working in Google in this particular case, but you don't see that you have it. You don't check it when you turn it on, and the thing has started spending money before you ever planned for it to, or it's gone beyond the budget that you had tried to set, and then the setting is not right or something. So, it's just it can go on and on from with automation if you don't know how to look at it.
Right, this can be dangerous.
Right. Well, I have one last question, and then I'll let you out of here. What is the biggest thing that you think that your clients want, or the biggest thing that you think your clients need that they don't know about, or they don't know that they want?
Definitely what most of my clients really want is a predictable way to get more clients, because that's the way the business will survive. They want to make sure that each month will get X amount of clients. That's the main reason why they hire me.
Right. And I'm sure you feel like this. I always feel like I can lead a horse to water, but if you don't allow me enough controls, like with your landing pages, and have, the forms and the flow of the things in working with your paid ads, then, I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make him drink. Do you ever get that feeling when you're working?
I totally feel you. I really got that feeling too.
Well, good. Is there anything you think they should know about for the future, that they should know about, or they need to know about that they don't know what they don't know that they don't know?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there is one thing that I think they don't know that they don't know, which is targeting is the most important thing. I got the feeling that most people now think that if you target like the whole world, you will get the best results because your target audience is huge. But the truth is that it's the opposite way. You will get a better result if you got a smaller specific target audience.
Gotcha. Well, okay, that's the questions I had for you, Bruno. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap things up. And so is there anything that you want my audience to know about? I know that, like I said, you're working with at Expresso, and I wanted you to just tell me a little bit about that before we get off the air and see if, and let people know where they can learn more about you. And I'll make sure that I do that as well.
Cool. Unfortunately, I really have to go now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can come back to that.
Thank you for this.
And I will add that.
This was really interesting.
Absolutely. So, Bruno, I appreciate your time, and we'll talk again here shortly, and I'll let you move on, and I'll send you a copy of this and all of that. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. I am Joe Sayles Jr., Lead Generation Funnel Efficiency Coach. And this has been an interview with Bruno Morris, Director and Digital Marketing Coordinator and PPC expert over at Doc Web Marketing in the UK. You can check him out at docwebmarketing.com. And you can check this video out at blog.leadgenerationdomination.com.